Isabelle Sanders was born into a life of unimaginable luxury in Hawthorne. As the only daughter of the powerful billionaire Mr. Robert Sanders, the head of Sanders Enterprises, she had grown up in a mansion filled with every comfort money could buy. Yet beneath the glittering surface of wealth, Isabelle's life was steeped in sorrow and suffocation. Her father controlled every aspect of her existence, dictating not only her daily routines, but also her future. Although her privileged life afforded her every material need, Isabelle was robbed of the freedom to follow her heart. More than anything, she dreamed of becoming a pianist, a passion nurtured by her late mother, who had once taught her to play. But Mr. Sanders saw her talent as a mere distraction from her destined role in the business world, and he dismissed her love for music as an impractical indulgence. For years, Isabelle endured the relentless pressures of corporate meetings and the heavy expectations of her family. In boardrooms filled with sharply dressed executives, she was forced to feign interest and competence, her mind constantly drifting back to the piano in her childhood home. Every day, the echo of her mother's gentle guidance reminded her of the life she truly wanted. Yet the weight of her father's ambitions and the responsibilities of being the heir to a vast empire left her feeling imprisoned. One morning, after another disheartening corporate meeting where her distracted demeanor did not go unnoticed, Isabelle's inner turmoil reached its breaking point. The cold words of her father, who cared more about preserving the family legacy than nurturing his daughter's dreams, left her feeling utterly alone. With her heart pounding and her soul aching for liberation, she made the fateful decision to escape. That very night, while the rest of the mansion lay silent, Isabelle packed a small backpack with a few valuables, her passport, and cherished pieces of jewelry. Every item was a reminder of both her past and the possibility of a new future. As she crept out into the dark, Isabelle battled her own doubts. What if I get caught? Will I hurt Dad by leaving? She wondered. But the thought of a life dictated solely by someone else's desires had grown unbearable. With a final, determined whisper, "I'm doing this for me," she slipped away from the only life she had ever known. The next morning, with her long, carefully styled hair now cut short in a modest salon and her expensive wardrobe replaced by simple thrift store finds, Isabelle found herself in an unfamiliar town. Disguised as a lowly housekeeper, she took refuge at a modest motel and soon secured a job with Mrs. Clarice del Rosario and her equally demanding daughter Bianca, who owned a lavish home in an upscale subdivision. Though her new employers ruled their household with an iron fist, insisting on spotless floors, immaculate clothes, and unquestioning obedience, the routine was a welcome contrast to the suffocating restrictions of her former life. In this humble role, Isabelle tasted freedom for the first time, even if it came with a daily grind of menial tasks and verbal jabs. In her new life as Bella the housekeeper, Isabelle worked diligently, hiding her true identity behind quiet competence and a determined spirit. Despite the constant criticism, especially from Bianca, who took every opportunity to belittle her, Isabelle held on to her secret passion, the piano. In the quiet moments after a long day's work, she would find a secluded corner of the house to let her emotions flow through the keys, recalling the gentle melodies her mother once played. It was in those rare moments that she felt truly alive, her heart liberated from the chains of her past. Her life took an unexpected turn when Luxe, the striking and soft-spoken son of a wealthy family in the Montgomery business circle, began visiting the Del Rosario residence. Luxe was known not only for his handsome looks, but also for his genuine kindness, a rarity in the cutthroat world in which he moved. Whenever he passed by, Isabelle couldn't help but notice his warm smile and the way his eyes lingered on her, as if sensing a kindred spirit hidden beneath her humble exterior. Yet this budding connection soon stirred jealousy in Bianca, whose infatuation with Luxe was well known. Determined to protect her position, Bianca used every opportunity to undermine Isabelle, accusing her of seducing Luxe and betraying the status expected of someone in her place. The tension reached a boiling point on a day when Isabelle was summoned to a grand party hosted by Clarice and Bianca at a lavish hotel. Forced to attend in a garish violet gown, an outfit that clashed painfully with her natural elegance, Isabelle felt the weight of both her disguise and the sneers of the high society guests. The atmosphere in the ornate function hall was charged with whispered judgments. Bianca's sharp tongue spared no opportunity to mock Isabelle's appearance and humble origins. Then came the moment that would change everything. Amid the low murmur of disapproving onlookers, Bianca's voice rang out, challenging Isabelle's claim to musical talent. "You say you can play the piano? Prove it." Bianca jeered, her tone dripping with derision. With her heart pounding and eyes filled with both fear and defiance, Isabelle was forced onto a small stage where a grand piano waited. The room fell into a hush as she sat down, her trembling fingers poised over the keys. Drawing a deep breath, Isabelle began to play Celle Delon by Claude Debussy, the very piece her mother had taught her, and the melody that had once filled the halls of her childhood home. Each note she coaxed from the piano carried the weight of her sorrow, the hope of a new beginning, and the courage to be true to herself. As the music swelled, the room's harsh whispers turned to rapt silence. For a few precious moments, all that mattered was the emotion in her playing, the tender, bittersweet strains that told the story of a girl longing for freedom. Unbeknownst to Isabelle, the performance had a far greater impact than she realized. As the final notes reverberated through the hall, murmurs of admiration began to ripple through the audience. Some even recognized a striking resemblance between the pianist on stage and the daughter of the influential Mr. Robert Sanders. In that charged moment, her father appeared at the side of the stage. With tears glistening in his eyes, Mr. Sanders stepped forward. The room, now silent in deference, watched as he reached out toward his daughter. "Isabelle," he said softly, his voice trembling with emotion. "So this is where you've been all this time." Shocked and overwhelmed by the unexpected reunion, Isabelle froze. The sudden appearance of her father, whom she had desperately tried to escape, sent a wave of conflicting emotions crashing over her. Unable to bear the intense scrutiny and the painful reminder of her past, she abruptly left the stage and fled the party. In a state of emotional turmoil, Isabelle flagged down a taxi outside the hotel. Each turn of the wheel and every glance over her shoulder filled her with dread, convinced that her father would soon catch up with her. Finally arriving at the modest room that had become her temporary refuge, she collapsed into the arms of Marissa, a kind-hearted woman who had become her closest friend since her escape. Marissa listened silently as Isabelle poured out her heart, recounting the events of the evening and the pain of having her true identity exposed. Marissa's gentle reassurance and steadfast support helped Isabelle begin to heal. "You did nothing wrong," Marissa whispered, embracing her tightly. "You followed your heart, and that takes courage." Though the wounds of humiliation and betrayal from her former employers still stung, Isabelle gradually realized that her decision to run away was not in vain. Her journey was not just about escaping her father's oppressive control. It was about discovering her own worth and reclaiming the freedom to pursue her dreams. In the days that followed, news of Isabelle's true identity began to spread among the household staff. Confronted with the undeniable truth that Bella the housekeeper was in fact the daughter of one of the most powerful men in the country, both Clarice and Bianca experienced a profound change of heart. Overwhelmed by guilt and shame for their previous cruelty, they came forward to apologize. In a tearful scene, Clarice and Bianca knelt before Isabelle, begging for her forgiveness. Although the hurt they had caused could not be erased entirely, Isabelle, with remarkable grace, accepted their apology. "I have already forgiven you," she said softly, "but I ask that from now on, you treat everyone with respect, no matter their status." Her words resonated deeply, marking a turning point in the dynamics of the household. Meanwhile, Mr. Robert Sanders had not been idle during his daughter's absence. Consumed by regret and desperate to right his wrongs, he had enlisted the help of a private investigator in search of Isabelle. When he finally learned of her whereabouts, he rushed to her side, overcome with sorrow for the years lost to pride and control. In a heart-wrenching reunion filled with tears, Mr. Sanders pleaded with Isabelle to return home. "Come back, daughter," he implored, "and let me show you that I can be the father you deserve." Isabelle's heart ached at her father's words. She had longed for this moment, a chance to reconcile and reclaim her identity on her own terms. "I will come home," she promised, her voice trembling with emotion, but only if I can finally pursue my dream of becoming a pianist without your interference. Mr. Sanders, moved by her courage and determination, vowed to change. He admitted that he had stifled her spirit for too long and promised to support her passion for music as well as her responsibilities to the family business. Returning to her old home did not mean that Isabelle would surrender her newfound freedom. Instead, she forged a delicate balance between her duties as Mr. Sanders' daughter and her longing for a life defined by her own choices. With her father's blessing, she began to perform at private events and small gatherings, sharing her story through the soulful strains of the piano. Her music, imbued with the pain of the past and the hope of a better future, soon earned her quiet admiration among the elite circles she once dreaded. In a symbolic gesture of her renewed independence, Isabelle hired Marissa as her personal assistant. More than an employee, Marissa had become a true friend and partner, a reminder of the simple yet profound lessons Isabelle had learned while living as a housekeeper. Through hardship, she had come to understand that true dignity was not defined by wealth or social status, but by the courage to be oneself and to treat others with kindness. Isabelle's transformation was not without its challenges. There were days when the scars of her past, moments of humiliation, harsh words from Bianca, and the constant fear of being discovered would resurface. Yet each time, she found strength in her music and in the relationships she had rebuilt. Her reconciliation with her father brought with it a new understanding that love, forgiveness, and the willingness to change could heal even the deepest wounds. Her journey, from the gilded prison of a controlled existence to a life of artistic expression and genuine freedom, became a testament to the power of self-determination. Isabelle Sanders had learned that while her birth had given her wealth, it was her choices that defined her true worth. Embracing her passion for the piano, she not only reclaimed her identity, but also inspired those around her to look beyond appearances and recognize the value of every human being. In the end, the story of Isabelle Sanders was one of trials, heartbreak, and ultimate triumph. A narrative of a young woman who dared to defy a predetermined destiny in order to pursue the life she truly desired. Her music, echoing with every note of sorrow and hope, became a bridge between the world of opulence and the realm of genuine emotion. And as she played, Isabelle reminded everyone that no matter how constrained one might seem by circumstance, the quest for freedom and self-expression is a journey worth taking.